Tampi was my lecturer at the School of the Wisdom 7 years ago. And when he handed with us the book, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Insight by Sherry Nicholson, who has passed away recently. And Professor Tampi retired as a professor of English and he joined the Theosophical Society in 1959. He's a national lecturer. He's been a national lecturer for 7 years and the director of the School of the Wisdom for a number of years. He has conducted several courses under the School of the Wisdom. Professor Tampi is Vice President, Besant Educational Fellowship. He has conducted study camps at national and federation levels. He is the President of the Kerala Theosophical Federation for 9 years. Of course, this is all that he wants me to say about him, but I would have said a lot. Professor Tampi, without much ado, I'm asking you to take the mic. Thank you. Sorry, I always forget to. His topic is, I have promises to keep. Yes, I have promises to keep. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, esteemed sisters and brothers, just now Sister Diana had painted a very depressing picture of the present world. Now, actually, I planned to talk about the world from a totally different angle. Now I am a bit confused as to whether I should take over from her or whether I must charter a different route. Anyway, I will try to deal with both. Now, Theosophy presents a picture of the whole world which is unparalleled in its breadth, in its scope, in its scope and range, all embracing nature, and our vision of the cosmos does not exclude even the minutest creature, not even a single point in the whole cosmos. There is nothing trivial as far as Theosophy is concerned. Even a dimensionless point is a potential universe. That is what we are told. And so when we speak on any topic connected with Theosophy, we must be always humble, because we are just a small part of this vast cosmos. And here we must also remember what S.P. Blavatsky told the small group of disciples towards the close of her life. It was almost like a parting message to the whole world. That is, when you study the sacred doctrine, or for that matter any subject in Theosophy, have in the background of your mind the truth of the one existence, one life. Now, if you for a moment forgot that or you omit that, then we may go astray. We may depart from our subject, or our views will be distorted. And so here, even when we think of this as a very depressing thing, and we must also remember that it is a grand perspective of the whole cosmos. And about the topic that we have for the convention and is the Theosophy in a changing world. Now, very often in literature, particularly poetry, as a technique to draw attention or emphasis, there will be contrasting or dissimilar things put together. And here in our theme, we have the same thing, unconsciously perhaps. That is, changing worlds and theosophy. Changing world, it is quite obvious that every moment the world is changing, and every part of the world is undergoing changing, and as P. Blavatsky said in Secret Doctrine, there is a flux and reflux. That is one aspect. And the other aspect, theosophy is eternal wisdom, ancient wisdom, or the modern word coined by Aldous Huxley, perennial philosophy, something which is perennial, lasting forever. So there is the combination of these two. So one will highlight the other, that will highlight the first one. So like that, the title of or the theme of this conference draws our attention and makes us think. And here, especially when we think about the change, you will find, as I said, everything undergoes change. Change in space and change in the course of time. And change in space that results in motion and also involve time. And if this change of space, changing from one place to another, goes on in an aimless manner, then there is confusion. But if this change is for a particular purpose, directed to a particular goal, that will be a journey with a noble purpose or with a purpose. And here, in the same book we mentioned, S.P. Blavatsky said, we are all engaged in an obligatory pilgrimage. See the wonderful expression? Now, even though we may be able to draw, there is very disappointing pictures of this whole world and life here in this world. Now, here we must consider this as a pilgrimage. And a pilgrimage from which no one is exempted. Even if he wants to come out, to get out of it, one cannot. An obligatory pilgrimage. And what is peculiar about pilgrimage? Pilgrimage is a journey, a movement. And very often this pilgrimage may be in the form of very difficult, circuitous travel through most inhospitable terrain. Sometimes that journey may be going towards a mountain. Now it is very interesting to find that almost all these pilgrimages on the surface of the earth are towards mountains. And there must be something very significant about that. Now if you go from one end of South India to the other at night on a train, then you will find that there will be the series of steps going higher and higher in the dark, all lit with beautiful light, and at the top there will be a small temple. There will be a number of temples like that. And similarly, other centers of pilgrimage also will be very often on mountain tops. And what can be the importance of that? In the Bible, all the important events in the life of Jesus Christ are on mountains. The Sermon of the Mountain, the crucifixion, all these were at the top of a mountain. And because the mountain indicates the highest level of consciousness. So that is in our nature, that is within us. Actually, this pilgrimage that we have towards a point outside is an externalization, external enactment of an internal experience. Actually, the pilgrimage is within. The search is within, and the goal also is within. And so there are so many such pilgrimages from very early times. In England, the Canterbury Tales is based on the pilgrimage every year. That is very, very famous. And there are so many such pilgrimages, the pilgrimage of the Islamic people every year. So there are such pilgrimages here. In addition to that, Now this pilgrimage may be directed towards a center in the stream. For example, in the north, there is pilgrimage to the Ganges. So that may be trying to connect it with the stream. Now stream psychologically and also symbolically is a stream of consciousness. We have the expression now, stream of consciousness. So stream always indicates that consciousness that is always flowing. And so in Buddhism there is that reference to cross the stream or enter the stream. That is the first stage on the path. That enter the stream, Sodapati or something like that. Enter the stream. That is a very meaningful technical term. And so also it can be towards the sea. And the sea also is a very powerful symbol in religion and spirituality. Now we find in India, in our ancient literature, the whole life here is compared to an ocean. Ocean of suffering. And we have to cross this ocean of suffering. That is what we say. That is known to every man or woman here in India. They understand the symbolic significance of that expression. So like that there are different kinds of pilgrimages, and when we talk about the changing nature of this, we find that the pace of change, especially these days, is unprecedented. Now, very often we look forward to the future. And when we look forward to the future, even before we get accustomed to the present, the future comes. And that future becomes the present before we get accustomed to the earlier future, which becomes the past. And by the time we think about the future, it becomes the past already. And so that has created a psychological crisis in many people, which is described as culture shock. So all of us are suffering from culture shock because all of us are living in a world which is fast moving, fast changing. At the same time, we expect the world to change fast, otherwise we feel we get more bored, the same old thing. And the contradiction is, on the one side we want the same condition to continue because many of us think that change of states is resulting in a kind of insecurity. And the other day it was mentioned, the speaker quoted Helen Keller referring to this desire for security. And one of the wisest men, according to me, Shakespeare said, security is mortal's chiefest enemy. That is, hundreds of years before Helen Keller had mentioned that, the same thing was expressed in a more beautiful manner by Shakespeare, saying security is mortal. Mortal means ordinary human beings, especially when in this statement mortal is very appropriate. Security is mortal's chiefest enemy, an expression for which everybody has given the liberty to Shakespeare to be free with the rules of grammar. Then, he himself, in a very important, very great tragedy, refers to the psychological condition of the hero who anticipated a great success, and on the other hand he was having a series of failure, and he had this overvaulting ambition throughout, and then he had a series of failure. And the most important person who was a source of support for him, he lost at the crucial moment when he was going to have a steady decline in his future, and then he said, that should not have happened now. It should have happened, it should not have happened in the most difficult time of my life. It should have happened the next moment, tomorrow. Then he realizes, what's the use of hoping like that? All of us always do that. We expect everything to happen not now, everything to happen next moment, tomorrow. And that, like that, we continue to that. We don't change that. And Shakespeare has a famous line, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. One line is over. Creeps in his petty pace from day to day. So like that, tomorrows are creeping. All of us are having this kind of life. Our tomorrows are creeping how? In his petty pace from day to day. And all these tomorrows become present, and without our realizing that, and it will become the past and become the yesterdays. And when we look back, what happened to that tomorrow with great expectation we were looking forward to? All our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. This is the lesson that we learn from this march of tomorrows. All our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. So this is the condition of man. It's a psychological condition of man. Sister Diana just mentioned the psychological and physiological, and the environmental condition. All these things are interconnected. And here, this is the condition of the changing world. And in such a changing world, perennial wisdom, perennial philosophy is the only panacea. And that is theosophy. And when we come to theosophy, we will find that this grand perspective of the cosmos that is presented by our great teachers should evoke great admiration and a sense of wonder, because it's a great elevating experience, because it must remind us that we are also a part of that. Not an insignificant part, each one has a unique part in this whole scheme of this cosmos. Nobody is out of it. Everybody is involved in it. In other words, this whole cosmos is each one of us. And each one of us is capable of influencing or changing or transforming at least a part of the cosmos, which cannot be neglected, because that will be crucial. And we have the great propositions in the secret doctrine known as the three fundamental propositions, where the first proposition is the existence of an omnipotent, eternal, boundless and immutable principle. Can there be anything more grand than this? And it is that world in which we live, of which we are an essential part. And the next is, now the first is about the unity or the oneness, and second proposition is about the periodicity, and the third proposition is about the identity of all souls, with an identity of each soul with the oversoul or the cosmic soul, whatever it is. So here also you find, whenever we think about this, we find that our responsibility also is significantly appearing greater and greater. And the most important of these propositions is the first one. We cannot compare like that still, and that principle of oneness, and that one does not remain that one. There is that one which contains everything, which contained everything which happened till now, and contains everything that is happening here at this moment, contains everything now in a potential manner, things which are going to happen in future. So that is that one. And that one, from that condition of, now actually that is only a potential condition. You cannot see anything there, there is nothing there, it is void. But the void is also the plenum. The void contains everything, and that is represented in India by zero. Because zero left to itself does not have any value, but it is most powerful depending upon the position it has. And so what happens is, from that one, everything emerges, and so from the one comes the many, and what happens to the many? So from that level, it descends. It comes down to lower and lower, denser and denser level, and then after reaching the lowest level, it takes the opposite direction. It goes up. So when it comes down, there is more and more enfoldment. That is, it is shrouded by more and more dense matter, and in the reverse direction, it is being unfolded. So enfoldment and unfoldment, and one is called involution, the other is called evolution. The literal meaning of evolution is unfoldment. And here this process continues endlessly, and we are all a part of this process. And about it, the Indian philosopher, or the great philosopher Shankara said, "The fool thinks I am the body. The intelligent man thinks I am an individual soul, united with the body." But the third category is the wisest. The wise man, with the greatest of his knowledge and spiritual discernment, sees, that is a typical theosophical perspective, sees the self as the only reality, and then such a person will say, "I am that Brahman, I am that one." And here, as we just now found, the involution and evolution, and in the evolutionary journey, that is a journey, each one has his own responsibility, and he takes it into account, and it is just like a journey that is described by one of the famous modern American poet, Robert Frost, in that small poem where he describes the condition when he was riding through a forest on evening, a winter evening, and he says, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. So he would like to spend a lot of time there. Perhaps he would stay there. And then the horse, and he also knows the owner of this place, but that is not the important thing. The horse just reminds him, reminds the master, something wrong with your movement now. Oh, then he reminds, I cannot remain here, I have promises to keep. Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. I have promises to keep. And miles to go before I sleep. Miles to go before I sleep. This is an allegorical or a symbolic representation of theosophical understanding of man's life. Because we are all on the path, and we are having the distractions on the path, and so instead of, very often we forget our goal. And the beginning, we started the journey with this promise, I will reach from where I started. The involution and evolution, the one leaving one's home and the other going back home. So there is an understanding, the promise that he will be back home as soon as possible. That is what we have undertaken. When we become a human being, we have this implicit undertaking that I will pass through this journey with all seriousness, without wasting even a single second, aiming towards the goal. But what happened? On the wayside, we just stopped, and that is what is happening in all pilgrimages. So, because if you go to these pilgrim centers, you will find all kinds of business, the shops, all these things. So, we are all having distractions. And so, every moment we must remind ourselves, I have promises to keep. And I have to travel a lot, not just a few miles, not just a few days, several ages to come I have to advance. Not only that, that may be in terms of man's life, human life. Even after that I have to continue this journey, and nobody can imagine how long it continues, and nobody can imagine the future, the ultimate goal. And Theosophy says, the soul of man is immortal. His future is the future of a thing whose growth and splendor has no limit. Now, what more do we want? Its growth and the splendor has no limit. It is assured to us. Because we have to trust those words, because those words come from those people, those great teachers who are a part of the whole scheme, who are responsible for implementing the whole plan. And they are assuring us, don't sleep, don't waste your time, every moment is precious, take your step properly, look forward. And in another poem, a similar poem, Prof says, that poem is called A Road Not Taken. This is a very small poem. Now he finds himself on his way. The road before him takes two branches, has two branches, and one with little movement is indicated there. Nobody has taken that road. The other frequented by most of the people, and then he had this confusion. Now which road should we take? Now this choice is there in every moment of our life. This is the great privilege of man. But at the same time, this is the great curse. Every man is condemned to be free. Sadhri. So we are condemned to be free. Every moment we are free, because the future is in our hands. And we are happy about it. But the point comes when every moment you have to make the choice. And once you make the choice, you are having the responsibility of that, the consequence of that. That we don't want. We have to leave the first part. And so here, the poet finds it difficult to find out which road he has to take. Then after some time he decides, I will take the road less traveled by. Most people will take the road taken by majority of people. That is what we will go after the crowd that is before us. That is our tendency, for the sake of security again. And here the poet decides to take the road less traveled by, and then towards the close of the poem he says that I might be saying this ages and ages hence. Now this perhaps happened ages and ages before. I may be saying this ages and ages after that, and that choice made all the difference in my life, in the course of my life. So a decision that we take at one moment in our life will be binding on us and will be influencing us in the entire course of life, and the whole direction may be changed by that. So that is the opportunity, and that also is the responsibility. And that is what the Theosophy tells us. So at every moment of our life, we must remind ourselves of this important obligation, that is, I have promises to keep. Every one of us have promises to keep. We cannot afford to ignore it or forget it even for a moment. And if we do that, we do that at our own risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tampi. I think his talk reminds me personally that I have promises to keep. We've all been brought under the big umbrella of Theosophical Society to study what theosophy is. And he has given us some tips as what to do to keep our promises. Thank you very much, Professor. I'm repeating again, of course, the questions may be on the minds of people, members listening. Please keep them, write them, and then pass them on to the International Secretary. There's an occasion for that, questions and answers. Thank you very much. I think this is the end of the talk. There's something I have learned, that if you are a chairperson or chairman, his duty is not to summarize anybody's lecture or talk. You do that. I believe all of us were with you and we've listened to these beautiful talks. And I believe as we go, we pick some 2 points. We carry them along. Thank you very much.